Nothing foreshadowed the storm. Just an ordinary evening. Dinner, the couch, books, and phones. Those small rituals that make up a familiar, peaceful life. But then she looked up. One question, one sentence, and everything began to unravel. Not loudly, not dramatically. Quietly, almost gently, like a surgical incision on living flesh. He loved her. No conditions, no safety net. And she was already living 2 steps ahead, in a different reality where intimacy meant freedom, and loyalty was about being honest with herself, not with her partner. New names, different perspectives, sterile clinics, and strangers' hands, all hidden behind her soft, "I just want to try." When the truth surfaces, it doesn't scream, it suffocates. It makes it hard to breathe. Questions of betrayal, trust, boundaries, and pain start to grow between people, destroying even what once felt unbreakable. Sometimes love isn't about forgiving and holding on. Sometimes it's about walking away, just to stay alive inside. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watched this video. I value every one of your comments. So, let's get started. It was an ordinary Wednesday night. Dinner was done, and we'd both settled into our usual spots on the couch. I was idly scrolling through my phone, while Melissa, my wife of 7 years, was deeply immersed in a book. There was nothing remarkable about the evening. It had the quiet, familiar rhythm of routine. But then, out of nowhere, she shut her book, turned to face me, and said, "Franklin, can we talk?" Her voice had a gravity to it that instantly made my stomach clench. That unmistakable weight that signals something has been on someone's chest for far too long. I looked over, trying to keep things light. "What's up, babe?" I asked, even though I could already feel a shift in the air. She took a slow, deliberate breath and stared at me like she was trying to work up the nerve or carefully choose her words. When she finally spoke, her voice was quieter than usual. "There's something I've been thinking about for a while, and I owe it to both of us to be honest." I gave her a small nod, trying to be reassuring. "You know you can tell me anything. Just say it." I meant that, but I was completely unprepared for what followed. She hesitated, then said it plainly. "I want to talk about the possibility of opening up our marriage." The words hit me like a slap. My mind blanked. I blinked. "Wait, what?" She repeated herself, her tone calm but careful. "I've been thinking about the idea of us seeing other people, intimately, emotionally. I want to experience more, explore other kinds of connections." My brain scrambled to keep up. "So, you're saying you want to sleep with other people?" The question came out cracked and unsteady. She didn't look at me as she nodded, slowly. "I've been wrestling with this for a while. I still love you, Franklin. That hasn't changed. But I also feel like something's missing in my life. We've created this entire world together, just the two of us, but I keep asking myself what else is out there." I sat there in stunned silence, trying to make sense of what I'd just heard. My thoughts started spinning, rage, confusion, heartbreak, all colliding at once. Melissa, the woman I loved, the person I thought I knew better than anyone, was telling me she wanted to be with other people, and somehow still stay married to me. "How long have you felt this way?" I asked, barely above a whisper. She finally met my eyes, and I could see how uncertain she was. "A few months," she said. "I didn't want to bring it up until I was sure." "A few months?" I echoed, the shock deepening. "And you never said a word?" "I didn't know how," she replied softly. I need to be honest about what I want." It felt like the ground beneath me had vanished. I hadn't seen this coming, not even a hint. "You're serious?" My voice trembled. She nodded again. "Yes. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. and I believe it's something I need in order to feel whole again." I didn't know what to say. My thoughts were tripping over each other, one louder and more frantic than the last. Could this really be happening? Was Melissa actually asking for the freedom to be intimate with others and still expect me to be by her side? Somehow, I managed to find words. "Melissa, I love you, but I can't do this. This isn't the marriage I signed up for." She looked down, her expression pained. "I know this is hard to hear. I didn't expect it to be easy, but I couldn't keep pretending." After a pause, she added, "I'm not trying to get your permission, Franklin, but I need to know if this is something you could ever accept. Could you live with it?" Her voice wavered, but there was a quiet strength beneath it. She wasn't just floating an idea. She was telling me what she needed, even if it broke us. The idea of sharing her made me sick. "No, Melissa," I said, barely able to speak. "I can't be okay with that. I can't stand the thought of you with other men. I can't even picture it without it tearing me apart." "I'm not doing this to hurt you," she said quickly, her voice shaking. "It's not because you failed me, or because I'm unhappy with you. This is something I have to explore for myself." I sat there, unable to move, trying to understand what she meant. I still loved her, deeply, but I couldn't be the man who smiled through something that went against everything I believed our marriage stood for. "I can't go along with this," I finally said, the pain raw in my voice. "If this is really what you want, then I can't stay. It'll end us." We sat there, engulfed in silence. I looked at her, searching for the woman I'd loved for years, and suddenly seeing someone I didn't fully recognize. The rest of the night drifted by in a daze. We lay in bed, but neither of us found sleep. Her words kept echoing through my mind. An open marriage. How had things unraveled so quietly? We'd shared everything, or so I thought. Was this building for a while and I just didn't see it? Her quiet moments, the emotional distance I chalked up to stress, her new circle of friends, was I really that blind? The following morning, over the soft hum of the coffee machine, she tried once more to explain. "Franklin, I swear I haven't been hiding anything or making plans behind your back. I only realized what I needed recently, and it's not because you weren't enough. It's something I need to understand for myself." I shook my head slowly, frustration pulsing just beneath the surface of my skin. "Melissa, we've been through this. I can't get behind it. The idea of an open marriage, it's not something I can accept or pretend to be okay with." My voice didn't waver as I continued. "This goes against everything I believe in." She exhaled deeply, her features softening, shadowed with sadness. "I just want you to try to see where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to hurt you." "I know that," I said quietly, the weight of the moment heavy on my chest. "But it doesn't change how I feel. This isn't something I can live with. The thought of sharing you with someone else, it breaks me." The silence that followed was unbearable, pressing in from all sides. I loved her deeply, but I couldn't support what she was asking of me. I wasn't wired for this. In the days that followed, an unspoken tension filled the space between us. Our conversations became minimal, clipped, necessary. Melissa, as persistent as she was gentle, began to leave subtle signs around the apartment. Books on ethical non-monogamy stacked on the coffee table, web articles open on her laptop about polyamory. She was already exploring this world, immersing herself in it, while I was still stuck at the edge, trying to understand what any of it meant. A few nights later, we went to a casual get-together with some friends, the kind we used to both enjoy. I wasn't really in the mood, but Melissa had looked forward to it, so I went along. While chatting with some friends we hadn't seen in a while, Melissa mentioned someone new. "Scarlett," she said with a faint smile. "She works with me. We've been spending a lot of time together. She knows a lot about open relationships." "She's been such a great resource," Melissa added, laughing lightly. "Really supportive, offering advice and perspective. I froze mid-sip, my glass hanging just below my chin. She continued the conversation easily, her tone light and confident, like she had finally found people who spoke her language. Around us, the discussion unfolded, an effortless flow of shared experiences and light-hearted commentary about open love, as if it were completely ordinary. She looked so at ease, like she belonged in this setting. Meanwhile, I felt like a ghost in the room, visible, yet utterly disconnected. I tried to keep it inside, to maintain some kind of composure, but I couldn't. When we finally got home that night, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I faced her, my voice shaky but certain. "Melissa, is this about wanting to be with someone else? Is that what's really going on? Because I can't keep pretending like this is just theoretical." Her eyes widened, caught off guard, but then something else flickered across her face. Guilt. "It's not about someone else, Franklin," she said quietly. "It's about me. About how I want to live now. I love you. I still want us. But I also need something different. I need to live more openly. Please, just try to understand." I had nothing left to say. No words came that could pull things back together. The reality settled in like a punch to the gut. Her need for more, for a different kind of life, was no longer something I could deny. In that moment, I realized that our marriage was no longer something I could hold on to. The concept of sharing her, of opening what had always been sacred between us, was unbearable. I couldn't be a part of it. I wasn't made for that kind of love. Our paths had split, and for the first time, I allowed myself to see it clearly. The road she was choosing, I didn't want to follow it. The pain was sharp, and I knew I had to face the truth. This was the end of our journey. A few days passed, and she went out again, this time with Scarlett and some others. She came home late, laughing louder than usual, her face lit up in a way I hadn't seen in weeks. I tried to ignore the tightening in my chest, but every time she said Scarlett's name, that sinking feeling only grew. 2 days later, I stopped by my friend Clark's place to pick up some tools. As I was grabbing them, he mentioned something in passing. "Hey man, I saw Melissa earlier today. Looked like she was heading into that health clinic near the park. Everything okay?" I paused for a second, keeping my voice neutral. "Yeah, probably just a checkup or something." But as I drove home, unease gnawed at me. Why wouldn't she mention something like that? Why keep it from me? Later that afternoon, when we were both home, I tried to sound casual. "So, what did you get up to today?" "Nothing much," she said quickly, avoiding eye contact. "Ran some errands, watched a bit of TV." No mention of the clinic. Nothing. That was when worry shifted into something darker, suspicion. After she headed off for a shower, I hesitated, then checked her phone. Nothing stood out. But in her purse, I found something that stopped me cold. A receipt from the clinic. Confirmation of an STD screening. My stomach turned. Why would she need that? I took the receipt, slipped it into my pocket, and waited in silence, bracing for what was coming. She came out of the bathroom, humming, wrapped in a towel, moving through the room like everything was normal. I couldn't pretend anymore. I stood up, my heartbeat pounding in my ears, and held the receipt out in front of her. "What's this?" I asked, my voice low and cold. She stopped instantly, her gaze locking on the paper. A silence stretched between us, long and unbearable. Slowly, her shoulders dropped. "I didn't want you to find out this way," she whispered. "Franklin, that night I went out. I slept with someone. I couldn't react, couldn't speak. I just stood there, stunned, as the world around me seemed to fall completely still." "You did what?" The words slipped from my mouth in a whisper, thin and unreal, as if I were trapped inside a nightmare I couldn't shake. She couldn't look at me. Her gaze dropped to the floor, heavy with guilt. "I'm sorry," she murmured, barely audible. She explained how it started, a casual chat at a bar that spiraled into something she hadn't anticipated. Before she knew it, lines were crossed. Then came the dread, the panic, the reason she got tested. Every sentence hit me like a blow I couldn't block. "You've got to be kidding me," I said, my voice climbing as anger surged through my veins. "You slept with another man and then went to get tested? You risked our health? Our marriage?" The betrayal knocked the air from my lungs. I could barely stand to look at her. A wave of disgust clenched around my heart like a vice. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she wiped her face, her voice shaking. "I didn't plan for this," she said. I needed to feel something different, something alive. I thought maybe an open relationship would give me that." "It wasn't about you," she added quickly. "I still love you, Franklin, I do. Hurting you was never the intention." I stared at her, my fury turning to ice. "Don't talk to me about love," I snapped. "You slept with someone else, Melissa. You've destroyed everything we had." Silence followed, heavy and final. She stood there trembling, torn between saying more and saying nothing. I remained frozen, crushed beneath the weight of what she'd done. I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. "I don't even know who you are anymore," I whispered. "I can't see you the same way. This is over. I'm filing for divorce." Her face fell apart, and for just a second, I saw something flicker in her expression. Not just sorrow, but maybe relief, as if she had known this moment was coming and had been waiting for it. "I'm so sorry," she choked out. But it didn't matter. The damage was already irreversible. "I don't want your apology," I said coldly. "We're done." She didn't fight back. She just stood there, empty and defeated, while I turned around and walked out, leaving behind the life I thought I understood. That night was a blur. I packed whatever I could, clothes, essentials, things I barely registered, as my mind reeled from the chaos. I checked into a hotel across town, hoping the distance might quiet the storm inside me. By morning, I didn't hesitate. I filed the papers. It was the only action that gave me a shred of clarity, the only move that made sense in a world that had collapsed. I couldn't stay bound to that betrayal. 2 days later, I returned to gather a few more things. The house felt foreign, like a shell of what it had once been. Cold, lifeless. Melissa sat on the couch, her face unreadable. "I got the results back," she said, her voice tight and thin. "I tested positive. I have an STD, Franklin." Tears welled in her eyes. But I felt nothing. Not rage, not heartbreak, just a hollow ache that sat heavy in my chest. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I collected what was left of my belongings and walked out without another word. I didn't dare look back. I wasn't sure I could survive it if I did. The next day, I went to get tested. Fear gnawed at my insides. The waiting dragged, twisting my thoughts, but when the results came in, negative, clear. I hadn't been dragged down with her. The relief hit hard. It didn't heal the pain, but it gave me space to breathe. The divorce was finalized months later. Melissa reached out a few times. She apologized, tried to explain, wanted to fix what couldn't be fixed. But it was too late. The wound wasn't just deep, it was fatal. The trust had been obliterated, the foundation of us gone. So I turned inward and began the slow, painstaking work of rebuilding. It wasn't quick, it wasn't clean. But piece by piece I started to find my way back to myself. Eventually, Melissa left the state, moved on to a new place, a new life. Whatever remnants of what we'd been were left behind in that empty, echoing house. We stopped being part of each other's story. Letting go was the hardest thing I've ever done. But it was the only way forward. And slowly, in the quiet that followed, I reclaimed my peace and began to imagine a future where she no longer had a place. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.